Hello and welcome to the English 2 Unit 5 Curriculum Preview video. I'm Chris Drury, your guide on this wondrous adventure through drama and poetry. First, let's look at poetry. Here we have the standards tested with poetry. Of course, we're going to understand, make inferences, and draw conclusion about poetry structure and elements. But I think you'll detect a theme with this unit. Theme! And figurative language. Poetry has been tested 4 times over the years of the STAR test, with last year being the most recent after a break from 2015. While it's important to get into those poetry standards, it's also a good idea to hit theme and figurative language hard because they are both very important in poetry, but they also cross genres and are areas of struggle for our students in those genres. So how do we go about teaching poetry analysis? The most traditional way is through TP-CAST, where we break poetry down by looking at the title, paraphrasing the whole poem, looking at the connotations in the poem, as well as the poet's attitude or tone. A key factor that I think is always worth looking at is shift. Whether you do TP-CAST or not, I've always found that focusing on the shift in poems helps the students decode the poem. The shift almost always points directly to the theme. After the shift, we get back to the title because students frequently ignore the title, and now that we have a deeper look, we can see that the title gives us bigger hints or even reveals a new meaning as we deeply analyze the poem. Then we come to a conclusion with theme. Another way to analyze poetry is to pick a poem that has some strong technique in it, where the poet does something very well or creatively, like using rhyme scheme or diction or syntax or structure to point to his theme or point to a topic or just do something cool with the language. When you find a poem like that, it's good to have the students do a close reading just for that technique. They can even mimic it in their own writing by taking a mentor text approach and doing a quick write poem using the same technique right away. This will reinforce their learning and make them think like writers, which will force deep analysis. Using multiple poems will give them multiple touches and different approaches, and they'll get a wide and deep look at poetry. Poetry can even be done as a writer's notebook warm-up. After projecting the poem on the board, you can give students 10 to 12 minutes to write and reflect about the poem using any of the techniques listed here. This will give students multiple touches as well. Picking poems with strong themes and figurative language and imagery can yield value across other genres. And you'll see here that I put down that poetry is weird. What I mean is that it's unique and different. I always think of weird as a positive thing. And so giving them the opportunity to write or draw or artistically express some kind of connection to the poetry might help them understand it better. As you wrap up the poetry lessons, you might find students wanting to share their own poetry with you. Teenage poetry can often lead to drama, which conveniently is our next topic. Here are the drama standards. In the standards, we have a focus on archetypes and mythological elements, as if they knew that Julius Caesar and Antigone would come up in sophomore English, because they have for years. So those are your 2 big mentor texts in your textbook. You don't have to use them, but they are canon for a reason, and there are strong elements of persuasion in there that you can analyze. There are strong elements of the standards that you can analyze. And here we see those standards again, but also notice that we have theme and figurative language again, which is always asked in an author's purpose kinds of lens. And as you probably already are aware, drama has never been tested on the English 2 EOC. That doesn't mean they can't put one in this year, but besides teaching the drama standards, plays offer a unique opportunity, and we can look at them through the lens of the fiction standards. Drama is actually divided more clearly into scenes so that students can get a clearer picture of the isolated scenes' impact on the larger story. Additionally, looking at characters can be clearer as well, with dialogue offering a point of view that's a little different than fiction. Yeah, it's still omniscient, but between character speech and stage directions, we can get more insight into the character's dilemma, where it's easier to find that text evidence for our students. Both Antigone and Julius Caesar let you take a good look at why Mark Antony or Antigone feel the way they do. And then we also get the antagonist view with Brutus and Creon. It's very clear why they feel the way they do. So you see their moral dilemmas tied into that theme. Always focus on the figurative language. You compare poetry that is thematically linked to these dramas or whatever drama you choose to deepen things. If you want to work back around to back to persuasion, you could easily take a good look at some of the strong persuasive monologues in Antigone or in Julius Caesar. Creon has a great speech that can be analyzed for Logos, Pathos, and Ethos. And of course, Mark Antony and Brutus have speeches back to back that do the same thing. And there are some writing pieces that you could build around that we can talk about in the writing bundle coming up next. I hope I've sparked some ideas for you and that you get a chance to enjoy some poetic drama with your students this 6 weeks. Thanks for watching.